The Variety Artist, episode 18. This one's all about being on TV, working in Las Vegas, and much more. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast on your phone or mobile device. It really helps me a lot. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. They're offering you, the Variety Artist, a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at thevarietyartist.com/book. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Just go to thevarietyartist.com/book right after this podcast and get your free audiobook. Now, let's start the show.
Welcome to The Variety Artist, providing aspiring artists and entertainers with in-depth discussions from top performers from all over the world. So get ready to book some gigs, make some money, and have some fun with your host, John Abrams.
He's a Danish ventriloquist, magician, and entertainer who was a finalist on Denmark's Got Talent. He also appeared with Terry Fator in Las Vegas at the Mirage Hotel. He's an actor, singer, dancer, a triple threat. No, actually, throw in ventriloquism, and he's a quadruple threat. Variety Artist, I give you ventriloquist Peter Norgaard.
Thank you. I don't even remember doing all that. So,
welcome, Peter.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm excited to talk to you. In fact, a number of people I talked to, I said, I'm interviewing Peter Norgaard. They're like, oh, I love that guy.
Who knows me? I never heard of me either. So.
Now tell me, I looked on a lot of your stuff and it says it's Peter, and is it Bugtaler? What is that?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Sorry for that. Bugtaler, actually, I have to say this in my native tongue, and I want to apologize in advance because Danish sounds a lot like Klingon. So for all your Trekkies out there, you'll completely get this. It's actually Bugtaler means ventriloquist in Danish. So I'll just say it's to pronounce it in the right language, it's Bugtaler. So it means actually a boo means your stomach, and tailor means speaker. So speaking from your stomach.
There you go.
It sounds like an Indian name now, doesn't it? Oh, Mr. Big Stomach Speaker.
Sounds like something from Aliens, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Little puppet pops out. Hi, how you doing?
Oh, I love that scene in Spaceball.
Now I looked on your Facebook and it says hometown Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. Again, I have a lot of confusing stuff and people going that something went wrong here. Something cross-referenced or something. No, that's true. My parents were stationed in Hong Kong for a company called Maersk, and you might know them as the blue container ships that sail all over the world. And Maersk is a Danish company. So my dad was the boss of, I don't know, containers or something. I was 5 when we left. So I was born in Hong Kong and lived there for 5 years. So I learned English, Danish, Chinese, I don't remember it, Philippines, and some Danish dialect. So speaking all those languages at once, nobody understood what I said.
So now you can do your act in all different countries then.
I don't speak Chinese anymore, but sometimes when I watch a Chinese movie, I like the kung fu movies. They say something, and I just go, "I understood that," and I just go, my head hurts. So, going, why do I know that? So it's kind of funny.
Now, in a lot of your videos, you're singing a lot. That's kind of your thing, the singing puppets, right?
Yeah, it is. And actually, an inspiration for that was actually Terry Fator. But before that, I was starting to work around that, and I thought, okay, I should sing with my puppets. And I've been watching a lot of classic acts with the ventriloquism. Jeff Dunham, he does the classic thing, and all the old guys who been doing it for years, and Ron Lucas, and it's just amazing to watch them. But I was thinking, I should do more. I want to sing with my puppets. Then I thought to myself, nah, you can't do that. And then I saw Terry Fator do it, and I thought, OMG, he's amazing. I can never do that, but I'm going to try anyway. So I just went ahead and did it anyway. He was a great inspiration for me. Yeah.
So you weren't even singing with your puppets before that?
Yeah, yes, I was starting to work with it and trying to put it into routines, but I hadn't brought it on stage yet. because I was thinking, nah, that's too much. Who wants to hear that? And then suddenly he appeared on Danish TV with America's Got Talent. Yes, we get that program over here as well. Actually, the American version, we get that on Danish TV. When I saw him, just saw, he's amazing. Then I can do it. I'll just try anyway.
And he was super successful, right?
He kind of won the whole thing. So
yeah. And he has his own show in Vegas, so it was slightly successful.
It's just a small gazillion dollar thing he has going there. I think his contract is he just extended it for 5 years for $100 million. This is why I play with puppets. Wow. I want to do that. So, I keep telling my mom, Mom, he makes $100 million.
You're like, hey, wait a minute. Al, you worked with Terry Fator. I saw that you had a video where, actually 2 different ones. I was watching one where you appeared on some news show with him promoting the Vegas show.
Exactly. When I was on Denmark's Got Talent, I was a huge fan of Terry. I went to see him a couple of years before that, see the show. I wrote him, hi, I'm a ventriloquist, I'm a great fan. And he says, cool, I'll meet you after the show. And it's just like, really? And he's an amazing guy. He's so giving, and he just loves to share. So I wrote him after I did one of my acts on Denmark's Got Talent. I think it was the semifinal or something like that. I sent him my Elvis act with my Elvis puppet singing. And he wrote back, that's amazing. Call me. And then there was a phone number. I just pressed my phone right away, and I did not know what the time zone was. I didn't know anything, what time it was in Vegas at that time. I just called, and he picked up. It was just.
It's like, hello, this is Terry Fator. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It was just like, and I remember what he said. He said at the end of the conversation, which was ending, he said, "Sure, I loved your show, and if you're ever in Vegas, let's do a show together." And I just grabbed my calendar right away, and I said, the 4th or the 5th of April. And he said, "Sure, both of them." I said, "Yeah, why not?" He said, and I went, "Yeah."
All right.
I think he only meant one performance, but I said 2 dates, and he said sure, and I went, let's do both. So
how exciting was that?
Yeah, that was so exciting. That's the most exciting thing I ever done in my life. I think doing a Vegas performance with your idol. It's like if you've been a dancer or singer all your life and you like Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston or whomever. I should stop naming all the dead ones. Beyonce. Yeah, exactly. Beyonce. So if they should call you and say, let's do a song together, you don't say no to that. You jump on the first plane and get the first ticket you can get and just go, man. Just clear your schedule. That's just a once in a lifetime thing to do.
Yeah, so you hop on a plane and you go to Vegas, and what happens? Do you have a rehearsal right beforehand? Do you just meet him there? Because I saw the clip, and the clip is with Dougie the Druggie, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love Dougie the Druggie. Dude! Such a fun character.
Very funny. And then you started with your Elvis routine, is that right?
I did my Elvis routine on the TV show. I didn't do it in Terry's show because Terry has a puppet, Melvin, Elvis impersonator. I can't remember, Tompkins or something. I can't remember his name. His puppet is really funny, but he's the only Elvis impersonator who doesn't sing Elvis songs.
Okay.
It's just like, what? It's so surreal. But of course, it ends up with him doing an Elvis routine. So I couldn't do an Elvis routine in Terry's show. So I couldn't steal like his material. That would be weird. So sure. I did my dog puppet instead, and sang a song I did on Denmark's Got Talent that was called "I Wanna Be Like You" from the Disney movie The Jungle Book in a jazzy funk up version. Yeah.
Well, let's go back. We're going to talk about Denmark's Got Talent, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things. But let's go back a little bit. I was reading that you're a puppeteer. Yeah. Go to the Wayback Machine. You were a puppeteer for the Denmark version of Sesame Street.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And you did Elmo, is that right?
Yeah, I was assistant puppeteer for him. I almost got the lead for it, but I ended up being the assistant. So I did a lot of the puppeteering for him, but I wasn't the main one. I was a lot of letters jumping around on the back screen. Yeah, I got to work with Kevin Clash, who was Elmo at that time, and oh my gee, he is a fabulous puppeteer. That's learning from the best. He was a protege of Jim Henson himself. Oh. He is my mentor. He is my sensei. He was actually Master Splinter on the original Turtles movie. Oh, yeah. So he is my sensei. So and he was on Labyrinth. He was in everything. It was just amazing to work with a guy like that who's done everything with puppets and known all the greats. It was just like, how do I top this?
Yeah. As an assistant, what were you doing? I know you were working a lot of the letters in the back, but what else were you doing?
Yeah, so sometimes I worked Elmo, of course, but usually I would work his hands if we had difficult puppeteering with the hands of picking up balls and juggling or whatever he does. A lot of that as well, and helping the other guy getting in precision to get whatever, because when you work on Sesame, it's like the TV screen is your puppet theater, and you have to work around the screen edge, and that's really, really tough because you're in a really, really crouched down position on the floor on something that's probably rolling, and there's cords, electric cords everywhere, and you have to roll over those, and it's really, really challenging. So when you go home, you look like somebody who's starring in Hunchback of Notre Dame because you've just been crouching down all day. It was like 40 or 50 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that's in Fahrenheit. That's a gazillion.
Is that hot?
Yeah, it's about 3 liters. I don't know. It's we're metric. I don't get
our system is so weird. Whenever I talk to somebody from another country, they're like they talk in tens and hundreds and thousands, and we talk in like 4.2s and 1.7s and
yeah. I don't get it, but my point was I worked around with that, and I was the assistant puppeteer, and I learned a lot. And but we were equals. Him and Thomas was the other guy's name who did Elmo himself. So that was an amazing thing to do, and work with the great Kevin Clash.
And did you ever do any of the voices?
Sometimes, yeah, but not usually, because we had to keep the voice consistent. So usually he did it, but I did a better laugh, if I may say so.
Oh, so did you ever do the laugh?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes. Well, I'm off to the toilet. Okay, I'll take over. So yeah.
Well, let's go back even further in the Wayback Machine.
Okay,
and you did a bunch of musicals.
Yeah. Again, with the puppeteering, I did. I actually go a little bit back, even more, because when I attended my drama school, which was called the Musical Academy, I started practicing with my puppets. Our dean or headmaster said, "Peter, stop playing with puppets and concentrate on school," which is a normal thing to say.
Yeah, because those puppets will get you. Those will get you nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. But funny enough, our headmaster became the director and the chief of this big theater in Denmark. And the first thing he produced was Avenue Q. And the first thing he did was call Peter. And who's that? That's me. So, so he called me and said, "Peter, we're doing Avenue Q. We want you to direct the puppets and be in the show itself." And I said, "No." And he said, "What?" And I just thought that was funny that he called me, and he was the one who said, "Put the puppets away."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay," but I did it anyway. And he called me, and I said, "No." And the way the conversation went from my end was, "No, I won't do it. No, sorry, I can't. Oh, but stop throwing numbers at me. Oh, okay, see you Monday." Okay. So I did it, and I had never regretted it. It's a really, really fun show to do.
Now, was that the first show that you did?
No, I did. I did a couple of shows. I did mostly musicals. I did Hair. I did a production of Treasure Island. It's a Danish production. It's very popular in Denmark, but no big roles at all. No. Here I got to play Nikki in Avenue Q, which has a really fun song called
If You Were Gay, That'll Be Okay, 'cause I say, hey, I love you anyway.
So it was amazing. And even better, I got to be one of the bad idea bears. So I'll just step a little bit back from the microphone because the voice is a little high and going, yay! So go loud.
What is that? Bad News Bears? What is it?
Bad idea bear. It's like, you know, in cartoons where there's always like a devil and an angel appearing on each shoulder. Here it's just two little angels, but they have a mind of a devil. So they're saying stuff like, hey, you should take the money you got from your parents and buy some beer. And he says, I can't do that. You know what? Buy a whole crate. You'll save money. Hey, that's a good idea. So
I'm saving money.
Yeah, exactly. So I said, yeah, thank you, friends. And then they run up and go, yay! Yeah, drink this Long Island iced tea. It's just a kind of tea. Yeah. So,
just tastes like tea.
Yeah, exactly. And then they end up doing all things they regret. So it's a fun show.
When you have a new character, I was looking at all your different characters. You have Charlie the dog, Elvis, Tina Turner, Dennis the dragon, Louis Armstrong. I mean, there's just a ton of them. Yeah. Do you buy a stock character? Do you create it? How do you go about doing that?
I bought a lot of Steve Actel's puppets. They're amazing puppets, and they're affordable, and they're just they look great on stage. And I must admit, I have like 30 puppets in my warehouse out here. And sometimes you buy a character you can't really use anyway, but you have to meet the character, get it stuck to your hand, and try it out and see if the character suits you. One of the first characters I bought was Louis Armstrong. Yeah. And I just always loved Louis Armstrong with a what a wonderful world and all that stuff. So I thought, okay, I'll try that. And it worked. Since then, every like third puppet I buy, I can use. So, but it's something you have to try out because you have to meet them. It's like going to an audition. So the puppet's up for an audition, and what can you do for me? It's always a work in progress. But I never resell the puppets because I saw something in the puppet when I bought it, and I always think maybe I can use it in a later show. And for instance, I bought a bunny rabbit in a high hat. It can pop out the hi-hat and pop down again, and it's really funny for the kids. But I bought it like 10 years ago, and I just started using it. So I never resell anything if I have seen something I can use in it. So
yeah, Steve Trash was just talking about, I did a podcast with Steve Trash, which is a fabulous podcast if anybody gets a chance to listen to that.
OMG, yes. After listening to that, I was going, I'm nervous now because I can't top that.
He's very inspiring, but he talks about writing something down as you get the idea, because you never know, 5 months, 6 months, 10 years down the line, you change as a person, and that thing could come back around. And that's the same thing with your puppets.
Yeah. Exactly. Because it's like my puppets, when I meet them, it's like, I see something in you. I'm talking to them like they really exist, but I see something in the puppet, like I think I can use that for something. I don't know what it is yet, and then I buy it, and then I have to like find its voice and find its character. Is it high energetic? Is it slow? What does it do? So you have to look into that and just experiment with it and talk to it. And okay, what can it do? Can it sing? What is the voice? Okay, if the voice is like Louis Armstrong's voice, then he can't sing pop. Okay, then we have to think of something else for the voice. And it's a work in progress always.
As an actor, I started out as an actor, and one of the things that we learn is when you're looking for that character, you're cast in a show and you're trying to figure out the character, and you can't figure it out, and you're having a tough time getting there. One of the things that is suggested is that you use either an outfit piece or fake teeth or something, and it's amazing when you get that one little piece, your character just snaps in. And it's the same with the puppet. I'm sure all of a sudden you probably just snap in.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we call it mask work in Denmark. There's like from the Komedie theater, like the Greek theater, the Greek tragedies. They have a lot of masks, and we use that a lot in our drama schools. And we put on a mask, and then suddenly something happens that you become somebody else, and you can hide behind the mask. and then you have to remove it and see if you can keep the character somehow. And that's the tough one. But it helps you to get into the character, but then maybe you can tone it down a little bit or turn it up. So what do? Do you want to turn up the character? Do you want to turn down the character that you had the mask when you had the mask on? And that's really exciting. And you can do that with the puppet as well.
When I was in high school, in fact, probably the show that made me know that I could be some sort of an entertainer, I did very much like you're saying. There was something called the Gong Show in the 80s. And I think it's come back recently, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And there was a guy called the Unknown Comic, and he'd wear a bag over his head. Have you ever seen him?
No, I haven't seen that.
Well, if you ever get a chance, the Unknown Comic, he used to wear a bag over his head. Yeah. So when I was in high school, a friend of mine and myself decided to do a scene with a bag over our head and little holes cut out for eyes.
Yeah, paper or plastic, sir? Yeah.
At the time, I don't even think there was plastic at the time.
Oh, thank God.
When I was a kid. So we put these paper bags over our heads with the holes in the eyes, and it was hilarious. And what was interesting about that is hiding behind the paper bag, it was real easy to be funny and talk to people in the audience. But then as soon as we took the bag off, very much like the Unknown Comic, if you ever seen him live, we weren't funny.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? It does something. I can't describe what humor is, but I just know when I see it and when I do it. Okay, this is funny. I know this is going to be funny on stage. I can't describe why, but it's usually when it's unexpected.
Now let's go to Denmark's Got Talent.
Yeah.
How did you start out with that? Did you see an audition, or how did you first audition for that, or find out about the auditions?
Yeah, actually, they called me because they always have some what do you call them, audition and casting directors that call you up and say, "Hey, have you heard about this show?" Nope, haven't heard anything. But they've been calling me for years from these talent shows. And a while back, I did Hans Christian Andersen, one of our favorite famous poets. He wrote the Ugly Duckling and stuff like that. I did some school shows with that. They said, "Do you want to come on this talent show and do Hans Christian Andersen?" And I said to them, "Career suicide. I've never thought of it. Let me think about it." But at one point, like a couple of months before that, I had like a self-realization thinking, if a talent show should call me, I think I'm ready for them now. And then they called, and she said, "There's this show. It's called Denmark's Got Talent. We do that." Yes, I said. But yes, but you haven't heard what the show. I know the show. I want to do it. Really? And usually they have to convince all these people. But I have some contract issues and stuff like that we have to sort out first. You can't own me and stuff like that. And they said, "Okay, you can do it." Great. Okay, we'll do it. So I did the show.
So when you started out, did you audition in front of just the producers, or did you actually audition in front of a live audience?
In front of the live audience. In Denmark, there only live like 6 million people, and there's not a lot to choose from. So they just let you go on camera. I think I have 6 million people in my apartment building. It's somewhat like Denmark. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's a small continent or a small country of its own. Yeah.
So you audition in front of a live audience?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we just step on stage and you just go, "Oh, there you are." They just go, "Hit it," and then the music comes on. And I remember my audition really, really clear because they haven't turned on the speaker monitors, so I can't really hear the music, but I can hear the music playing out in the audience areas. But I know my music really, really well, so never go on stage. That's one of my advices. Never go on stage before you sung the song like 1,000 times and you know your music. So I can hear like the bass going and some of the instruments. So I sing my way through the whole thing without really knowing where I am in the song. But you can just hear little chords here and there going, "Okay, I'm still on track. Yay." So
And what did you audition with? Was it the Elvis routine, or was it the dog?
It was the dog. I was singing the King Louis song. What was it called? The one I did with Terry Fator. "I Want to Be Like You." With the dog. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, whoopie-doo, I want to be like you." That song. I did that, and it went really well. And fortunately for me, the judges loved dogs. So.
So what do they do? So what's the next round?
So the next round is actually where they sort you out. So then from that they take you they put all the contestants through that they think they should put in the live show, but they chose too many. So they chose like out of 1,000 people, they chose 100. So now they have to cut it down to like 25 people. So they go through a round where they say, okay, who will be best for the TV round? Okay, so live TV, okay, they put people in categories, and then they bring you up like a very dramatic, like the Swan, and then you look into the camera and going, yes, it's me. Do a very dramatic thing, and you have to walk down a long hall with a lot of lights, and so if you don't get the role, go on TV, you have to make like the walk of shame all the way down the long hall. So, and if you get the role or get the part of going on TV, then you can run down the hall going, yay, I did it.
So are they looking for different acts, like one or two ventriloquists, one or two singers, one or two?
Yeah, I think so. I think they were looking for a variety. That's a tough word, of acts. And I was, unfortunately, I was the only ventriloquist. I think there's like 10 ventriloquists in Denmark. Not a lot of competition. So.
And are they looking at your backstory too? Because I know on America's Got Talent and any of those shows here in America, one of the important things is your backstory. If you have a good backstory that's going to make the audience laugh or cry.
Yeah, exactly. So it's important that you were a son of a suicide pilot or something. It's very important. My father was an alcoholic, and it's very important that you have a sad story. My dad was actually an alcoholic, but I chose not to use any of that because I don't want to get anything in the way of my story, because I think that's besides the point. So I chose not to use any of that. And it got me pretty far, I think. So I don't think you should use things like that for your personal gain like that.
So you go into the next round.
Yeah.
Is it something new that you prepare, or are you using things that you're very used to, right?
Yeah, I'm using acts that I've done before, but a completely new act I did was actually the Elvis act. I made especially for the show. I learned like the whole thing 1 week in advance or something like that. And it's actually one of my most powerful acts today. So sometimes it can, you can make something in a very short amount of time, but that actually got me the whole way through. I think it got me to the finals with my Elvis act.
So who are you competing against in the finals?
In the finals, I was competing against a little girl singing opera, and I went fudge when she said,
there's nothing worse than a little girl. Well, at least you have an animal.
Yeah, exactly. But I had a cute dog. So, but there's a little girl singing opera, wearing a dress like she just came out of the production of Beauty and the Beast or something like that, and looks like a lampshade, and she looks really cute. She's blonde. She's everything that you want from a little opera singing kid. And there's what was more? There was a singing postal worker.
Okay.
Postal uniform, and they put glitter on it, and he was amazing. I loved him. He was an elderly guy called Henning, and he was just amazing. And there was a magician called Henning as well. It's a very common name. And there was a beatboxer, and the beatboxer was a young guy, 18, and he was really good, and he won. Yeah, but he was amazing. He deserved to win. I really like it when it's the raw talent that wins, because I've been doing this for years at this point, and this was like his first big thing to do, and he won the whole thing. I just love it because, again, it's the backstory that works for them.
And you're standing there with a little girl, a beatboxer, a postal guy that's probably not going to go postal on the audience, and you're thinking, this is a no-win situation for me.
Yeah. But I love doing it because it's you have to think of it when you do a show like that. You have to remember that, okay, could I potentially win? Yes, I could. Okay, so is my material strong enough? Yes, it is. Okay, so I can go on stage, not be ashamed of what I do. Yes, I can. Okay, I'll do it. The other acts were so strong that I didn't win. But that's okay, because I went on stage with strong acts that I'm not ashamed of and that can get me gigs in the future. So that's very important if you do something like this. Don't go on stage with something that you could potentially win with, or like you just made it up the week before. Oh, no, I should be careful now. I made it one.
Yeah, you did make something up the week before.
Yeah, but you have to be very, very careful. But they actually tried to influence what I did on stage. Okay, you should do something. You should do a Danish artist that sings like this because one of the judges said like this and that. And I went, oh fudge! I just told the press that I'm going to do something American, and they went, oh, okay, then we better do that because you just told all the magazines that you were going to do something American. So,
so they tried to change your act.
Yeah, they always do that on shows like that. They always want to do, okay, you should get more dancers. They should wear red. They should wear blue. It's your act, and you decide what's going to happen on stage. But then they can like say to you, okay, we're not going to give you confetti or going to give you the right lights. But but it's your choice if you want to work with them or work with your own act.
Yeah, and the stronger choice to make would be doing your own act because it's something you're real familiar with, right?
Exactly, yeah, because the Elvis act, I knew I was going to do, ordered the puppet from a guy in Germany who makes amazing puppets. I think he's called Zurich Puppets. Check him out. I'll give you the link afterwards. He made my Elvis puppet, and it arrived a little late. I think it arrived like 1 or 2 weeks before the show. So I had a very short amount of time to practice with the puppet, but I have practiced the singing and all the other stuff with some other puppets. So I was prepared to do it. It's still nerve-wracking to get something so close to a show.
I'll put that link. And also I'll put the Steve Axtell one on my website too.
Oh yeah. Oh, please check out Steve's puppets. He has amazing puppets. And if you want your puppets to look a little bit different from what he has, he can always change them for like my Tina Turner puppet is one of his diva puppets. And he doesn't have a Tina Turner puppet. He said, sure, we could put a wig on her that looks like Tina Turner. We could put on some different eyes and do like this. And voila, we have a Tina Turner puppet. And it looks like Tina Turner. So Steve is an amazing guy and very inventive here and a great friend of mine. So please go to axtell.com.
Let's get into a fact or something John just made up. Are you ready to play a game?
Did you make something up? Oh,
yes, I did.
Let's play it. I love games. Let's do it, John.
There's a couple here that you don't know about yet.
Is it fact? Or is it something John just made up?
I'm going to give you a headline, and then you're going to tell me whether it's something that maybe happened to you and tell me a little more about it, or if it's something I just made up. You ready?
Okay. Oh, exciting. Okay, let's do it.
Here we go. First headline. When appearing at the largest casino in Monte Carlo, 2 seconds before he went on the stagehand asked, "What language is your act?" Peter replied, "English." The stagehand said, "Good luck. They only speak French."
Well, that's a really great story, but that's unfortunately it's true.
Oh no!
So it is true. That was one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done. Just going the guy out on stage where he's going blah, 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 French something out on stage, and I can hear he's starting to get around to present me, and I don't speak French, but I get the gist of it. Yeah. And then the stagehand is just looking at the bottom of the microphone. Is it on? And he's going like that. Yes. What language do you perform in? English, I replied. And then he said, "Good luck. They speak French," and just hands me the microphone very casually. And then it goes, blah, 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 Peter Norgaard out on stage. And I have to walk out now. And I just started going, "Hi, just sing."
So did they know what you were doing? Did they understand the English songs?
Yeah, English songs they get because they're like international to sing an English song because they play that in the radio all the time. So that's okay. But it was just so nerve-wracking because I had like a couple of jokes and I was starting to do a joke. And I was just thinking, I felt I already lost the audience. So I just stopped mid-joke and went, "Music, please."
Oh, yeah.
Because I just felt, okay, I already lost the room. So, but I was hired to do 7 minutes, and I did 7 minutes on the dot.
And then ran for your life.
Exactly. I was a taxi. Yeah.
When my wife and I were in Mexico, we befriended one of the locals there. So we go back to his house. He says, "Come back to my house." He says, we'll play music. My wife will fix dinner. We'll have a great time. We said, "Okay, sounds great." So we go to his house and we're expecting all sorts of Mexican and Spanish music. And so he cooks us hamburgers, very American, and he cooks us hot dogs, and he plays on his record player Elvis and Neil Diamond. What a great Mexican culture. All right, next headline. Here we go. When appearing in a stage version of Into the Woods, during the big closing number, Peter ran and slid towards the front of the stage, slid off, broke one of his kneecaps, and had to finish the last 5 minutes of the show sitting down.
You know what, John? You should think you really knew me, but that's not true. But I have done a production of Into the Woods, and so I love that. How did you come up with that?
I don't know. I just made it up, but I did read that you did Into the Woods.
Yeah, so I did Into the Woods, and do you know what role I did?
I do know because I read it, but go ahead.
I was the front end of, wait for it, the cow. So one of my friends from school, so this was one of our student productions in the Danish Musical Academy. We were doing the production, and nobody had gotten the role of the cow yet. All the other roles were given out in advance, but the cow thing hasn't been cast yet. So suddenly the director goes, I think that we need somebody to play the cow. Peter, what are you doing? And I went, pulling the curtain. So, no, you're going to do the cow now. So who else is not doing anything? I don't think Christian is on my list here. So where's Christian? I think he's in the library. Okay, so go tell him that you're playing the cow. And I just ran to the library and said to Christian, okay, Christian, front or back? Beg your pardon? Just answer the question, front or back? And he said, back. And I went, yes.
All right.
You're going to be the ass of the cow. So,
the bright side is you could be Christian, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
the front of the cow. Is that what it said in the program? It said, and Peter Norgaard as the front of the cow.
Yeah. And Christian as the udder. So
the udder guy.
Yeah, the other guy, exactly.
All right, next headline. Once upon a time, Peter was hired as a magician and all the children were blind.
So once upon a time, there was a little magician called Peter who had to perform for, wait for it, blind kids. It's exactly true. That was just this so surreal. It's just like out of a Jeff Dunham sketch. This, I think Jeff Dunham. I'm going to steal one of his jokes and credit him for him. I think Peanut in one of his shows goes, "They just hired a magician for blind kids." Okay, so he just went, "Okay, the elephant just disappeared. It just freaking disappeared."
Look, it's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Is the next trick. And fortunately for me, I was just starting to use ventriloquism. So, but that's surreal as well, because I could just be standing there with a microphone, just moving my lips with no puppet at all, going, "Okay, how you doing, guys? I'm doing fine."
Oh yeah.
But I had to explain every trick that I did. Okay, the scarves are now red. Now they're green.
How strange.
It's so strange. But they hired a magician for blind kids because they wanted the kids to have exactly the same experience as seeing kids. And I think that's wonderful. But that really puts a strain on your show. And I just had to think on my feet and thinking, okay, I just have to explain everything. And at one point I go, okay, who wants to help me on stage? Raise your hand.
Oh, no.
And some of the kids raised their hand, and I point at one kid going, you. Oh, you can't see I'm pointing at him. So I had to, tap him on the shoulders. Okay, you join me. So, but I think it went really well, considering that they hired a magician to perform for blind kids. So, but it was really fun, and I loved doing it. So, and I'll even do it again if they ask me. Yeah, okay.
Peter was once hired for the birthday party of the Swedish Prince Daniel, Duke of Västergötland's dog.
Who is that?
I don't know. I looked it up online.
I never heard that name. That's false, dude.
I was looking online and I saw this Swedish Prince Daniel and I said, okay, well, I got to do something with that.
You know what? Actually, I performed at a birthday party where actually our future king was. But I'm actually very relieved that they didn't tell me that our future king, I think he was 10 at that time or something like that, that they didn't tell me that he was there, because I would have been totally starstruck and going, Your Highness, this way. So I actually performed for the future king of Denmark.
Oh, that's got to go on your resume. That's great.
No, don't write stuff like that. But I tell people a lot.
It's now on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I have actually never told anybody. This is an exclusive for John.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, here's the next one. At an event, an ambulance drove the grandmother to the hospital without knowing if she would survive. They still wanted Peter to perform.
John, that's horrible.
It is horrible.
That's dark, man, and it's true. So no, it is true. There was an ambulance right out in front of the venue. It was a private party. We have something called confirmation. It's our Sweet 16 party. So they did the whole thing, and there was an ambulance out in front. I was just going, I don't hope I'm going in there. I thought to myself, I'm not going in there right now because there's blue blinks, there's everything. Everybody's running around in panic. I kept calling the guy, the dad of the guy who was getting christened. I kept calling, and suddenly I can see him picking up the phone from my car. I can see him standing out on the pavement, and he goes, hello. And I said, hi, I'm here in the white van right over here, and I see that you ran into some problems, a little trouble. Should we do this some other time? It's okay. I wouldn't charge you for anything. I felt so bad for these people. I don't want to charge you or anything. I'll just drive. Bye-bye. And he went, no, please come on in. I want you to save the party and give us a good experience. Wow. Doing that was one of the worst things I have to do, because you know what just happened. Grandma is going to the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know if she's going to make it. And I have to go in and be funny. It's like, no. And then doing my show, suddenly they started whispering in the corners, just like when you're a kid, that you send the message to the next person. And they started whispering around. And I went, okay, what's going on? And they said, Grandma's going to make it. Yes. Grandma's going to make it.
Oh, good.
But that was like halfway through my show, and it was an amazing show, because then at the end they just, okay, let's party, and they little fake party, but they joined in like 110% at the end, and
because they were all relieved and they could get excited about your show.
But they was just like, okay, now we can party. Let's party with this guy. He's really struggling, and they knew I was struggling with the whole thing here. So, and it ended up being a really, really great show. But the first like 20, 15 minutes was just horrible.
That was fact. Or something John just made up.
We're going to move now into our fan questions. Every time I interview somebody new, I put on my Facebook that you can ask questions of the person that I'm interviewing. So here's one. Maybe somebody you know, Giuseppe Riano. He does Puppets by Renee here in Southern California.
Oh, I love Joe.
Yeah, Joe Self.
Yeah, Joe. Yeah. Oh, have you ever seen him perform? I was blown away at CAX. Wow.
No, I haven't seen his whole show. He came and saw my show just the other day, but I've never seen his whole show, so I have to go see it. Is that what you're saying?
You have to see it. I was completely blown away. I've never seen Mariette's performed so well. It was just like, I mean, I could watch him for hours. He was like, for me, that was the highlight of flying all the way from Denmark to Los Angeles. I would do it again just to see Joe's show. See Joe's show. You must see it.
So I need to at least drive an hour or so to see him wherever he is locally
Take
here,
your
right?
lazy ass and go and watch Joe's show. I flew from Denmark to see it.
If you can fly for 22 hours, I can drive for an hour.
Exactly. I went all the way from the Kingdom of Denmark to watch Joe perform.
All right, so he says, actually, it's not even a question. It says, Peter Norgaard rocks. Can't wait for this episode to drop. That's his question. That's it.
Next question.
All that set up just for that.
Yeah. He just wrote that so I could do the big setup for him, and he has no question at all. Thanks, Joe.
That's right.
But thank you for the rock. Thank you so much.
Annie Banani. Do you know Annie?
Yeah, I know Annie. Yeah, I know Annie.
Okay. An amazing balloon artist and loyal listener to the Variety Artists podcast. She actually has a question and a statement.
Yeah.
She says, OMG, I love this guy.
Yeah.
We'll start there. Says, I'd love to hear about his branding since he has several things he does and also has an agency. So there's actually two questions in there. First, let's start with your branding.
Yeah, branding, like branding of my brand, or I have it's not on the side. It's actually quite a big part of my company. I have a company called Show Agent. My company does that. I run it with my wife. I couldn't do it without my wife. We run it together, and we buy brands. We buy brands and license products for stage shows. So we have the brand Cartoon Network. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I might have heard of that once.
Yeah, exactly. And right at the moment, we're doing the Cartoon Network summer tour and touring Denmark and Sweden. And we have a mall where we have 55 days with a Cartoon Network world and a show every day, and a meet and greet with the characters. So I buy the rights for these different shows. And they're hugely expensive, but if you know how to use them, then you can actually make a profit out of it and employ a lot of the unemployed actors out there. So we do Cartoon Network, we do Postman Pat, we do Bob the Builder, Fireman Sam. I don't know if you know any of all these.
I do know Bob the Builder and Cartoon Network.
Yeah, and maybe Paw Patrol, Nickelodeon. Those you know.
Oh yeah, that's big. That's big here.
Yeah, exactly. We just signed with Nickelodeon. It's very exciting for us, and we're starting this August. And right now, before you called, I was doing a lot of stuff, preparing to get the show ready. So there's a lot of preparation with the dubbing of the show, because they use the real voice on stage, and then you have to speak with a cassette tape. Actually, you have to speak to the iPod, because they're recorded, and then the live actor has to speak with the iPod. So that's a lot of rehearsing and a lot of recording and get the timing correct and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's what we do. So we that's called licensing, and it's a world thing. So if you want to perform with something, you can't just go out and say, I want to perform Powerpuff Girls at this birthday party. You can't do that, because it's a licensed product. Same as you can't dress as Mickey Mouse and Goofy or whatever at a birthday party and charge money for it, because it's licensed, and Disney will sue your teeth off if you do.
Disney will get you. They'll get you.
They'll get you. I buy all these different products, and we've done a lot of stuff for we've done stuff for Disney. We've done their Star Wars Academy, done that in the malls. We do a lot of stuff for Hasbro with the Transformers, My Little Pony. So my warehouse is full of My Little Ponies, Powerpuff Girls, Bob the Builder. All these costumes are out here in my warehouse. And right now I'm sitting at my office, which has space for rehearsing as well, because we have a dance hall. There's 100 square meters. So we can perform and rehearse in front of mirrors before we go out. And I have a staff of around, I think we're around 70 or 80 people that can perform for me.
So you're licensing, you're getting the licenses, and then you're performing live at malls and different places?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And that's your agency, and that's branding, and that was Annie Banani.
Yeah, thank you, Annie. Love you. Say hello to Buster from me, Annie.
All right, so now give us a little bit of advice for the beginner. What's some advice for the beginner?
You know, I was thinking of that, and I'm thinking, okay, what is the best advice I could give for a beginner? I have two advices, because people always ask me, okay, I've given out my business cards and nobody's calling me. But you just done the show, you just did a party, and you just gave them your number, but they're not going to call you tomorrow. They're going to call you at their next big occasion, event. And that's not tomorrow. That's maybe 3 years from now. So have patience. Have patience when you give out a business card. They're not going to call right away, but they're going to keep it. If they think you're good, they're going to keep it. The second thing is, I think this is for the pro and the beginner, because I did attend CAX 3 years ago, I think it was. And there was this great magician who was the editor for Magic Magazine. He said something really profound. When you are a pilot, you start in the smallest plane you could possibly think of, okay? So how does that apply to you? You start not on stage, you start on the floor, okay? So you want to get into a bigger plane, okay? So the plane you just flew just had one propeller, okay? So you get into it. The next big thing is a 2-propeller plane, okay? How do you get into that plane? Practice. You have to have flight hours, okay? So flight hours, you get into the next big plane, okay? And then so on and so on. You have to have flight hours to get into the next big plane until you're flying a jumbo jet or Boeing, whatever size plane with turbines and fire coming out its tail light and everything. So you have to have flight hours, and that applies to the stage. But as soon as you don't fly the big plane for a while, you have to step down and fly a smaller plane. And this is by law for all airline pilots, that if you haven't flown for a while, you have to step down for a while and fly a little smaller plane until you have flight hours enough. So this applies to the entertainer, because you get, I wouldn't say lazy, but you're just a little off your game. You have to step down to get up again to the big stage, to the big plane. So that's my advice.
All right, go give us one book recommendation and tell us why.
You know what? I haven't read that many books, but for the entertainers. But I always think the business part of the entertainment industry is one of the most important things. Of course, you have to have a great act, because if you don't have a great act, you don't have any product on your shelf. So right. You put that on your shelf, and you're thinking, okay, why is nobody buying this? Because you don't have a business strategy. You don't have anything. This is kind of an old book, I think. I read this like 10 or 15 years ago, and it's called The Highway to Success, The Entertainer's Roadmap to Business, by Elliott Smith and Ian Quick. I'll send you the link. I think this book is really great, and it applies a lot to the American market. When I read it, I thought to myself, okay, I'm doing a lot of this stuff, and it's really great to read it, to get a confirmation in, okay, what I'm doing is correct. But one of the things it covers is your return on investment. Should I buy this, and how do I get my money back from it? So I think that's one of the main points. Okay, return on investments. Okay, will I get my money back if I buy a bigger PA system? If I buy the really expensive puppet, will it add to my show? So I think that's one of the best books I read.
Perfect. I'll put it on my website, and they can just click on and get it there.
Double click here.
Well, we're running short on time, so thank you, Peter. You are so awesome. Thank you for doing my podcast. I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you, and thank you. I hope you understand all my mumbling and my Google translating in my head, doing all my. I'm bilingual, so I'm trying to Google translate everything I'm saying in my head as we speak. So I'm just going, what is that called in English?
Oh, that's what I heard in the background, right? It was the Google translator.
It's my brain working. So
now, if someone wants to get a hold of you, if they want you to perform or speak at one of their conventions, how do they get a hold of you?
Oh, they should go to my website. It's called Peter Bugtaler, which means ventriloquist. So peterbugtaler.dk, which means Denmark. So peterbugtaler.dk.
And spell Bugtaler for me, because it's not spelled how it sounds.
There, okay. I have to write it down so I can say the letters out. Okay, it's called Peter for Peter, and Bugtaler.dk.
Got it. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Peter. You are awesome. And thanks to all my variety artists. Make sure to join my Facebook group at the Variety Artists, where you can ask me to ask questions of our wonderful guests like Peter. And tell a friend that might find this valuable. That's how we can spread the word.
Yeah, I started listening to all your podcasts. I just recently listened to the Steve Trash one, which is awesome. What was the guy called with the guy who keeps mentioning his homepage. What was his name?
Oh yeah, Robert Baxt.
Yeah, exactly. .com. So yeah.
Well, a little earlier we were talking about your advice for the beginner and giving out your business card. And Robert Baxt is a master of marketing his own name.
Yeah, I was listening to that and going like, wow. I'm listening. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm listening to him. He has something. Listen to that if you haven't heard it already.
I say the same thing. I've been doing this for 20 years. And since the last, 15, 16 weeks of doing this podcast, I think I've learned just as much in this last 15 or 16 weeks as I have in the 20 years of performing.
Oh, that's amazing. I really love doing this. So thank you so much for having me. I was really kind of thinking, should I do this? Because do I have something interesting to say at all with all these awesome people you have on? You had Steve Trash on, you have the Baxter guy, and it was just like, I don't have anything to share. But I hope you can use my babbling and my weird Danish stuff. And by the way, Danish is a language, not a pastry. Just want to get that straight.
Yeah, I think someone said that on my Facebook page, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I just want to say, Danish is actually French. So it's actually Viennese. So it's not even Danish. So
I don't even know why they call it a Danish. All right, I'll let you go here, Peter. Okay. And anybody listening to this, don't forget to go to my website, get your free copywriting checklist at thevarietyartist.com, and feel free to reach me at john@thevarietyartist.com. I'm on Instagram at @thevarietyartist. I'm on Twitter at @thevarietyartists with an S because there's no T at the end. Yep. Or visit my website at thevarietyartist.com, where you'll find informative blogs and all the show notes from today's wonderful, amazing interview with Peter.
You're listening to thevarietyartist.com.
I should have you do a commercial for me.
In a world, one man, one variety artist. No, I can't do it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now go out and book those gigs, make some money, and have some fun.
Yeah.
That's all for this episode of The Variety Artist, but your journey continues on our website. Go to thevarietyartist.com for more strategies, insight, and resources, as well as show notes on today's guest to assist you in your career. We'll see you on the next episode of The Variety Artist. But until then, go out and book those gigs, make some money, and have some fun.